Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Update on the tropics, which are starting to heat up. Remember, we're heading towards the peak of the season, which is coming up on September 10th. And as we expect, this season's been active, but now it's going to get really active as we go towards the peak of the season. Really, there's two areas of concern right now. We've got two separate tropical waves that we're keeping an eye on. The first one here, and I'm going to pause this on the wide range here, is this one down here. Probably lesser of the two concerns because potentially it's going to get interfered with by Central America, but the Gulf Coast needs to pay attention to this one, and eventually that could be a big rainmaker for the Carolinas. This second, and I would say even third one, because there's two pieces. There's a low there, but there's a little piece back here. This one has a much higher probability of developing and likely poses a much more significant threat, at least to the Carolinas long term. Let me show you both of these, and you can see we've got our two areas here. This is the first one, which has basically about, let me get out of the way, basically has about a 70% chance of developing over the next 5 days. It's running into a little bit more issues than the second and third one, which you could see there has a 90% chance of developing over the next 5 days. But both of them do pose a threat to the United States, especially Florida, Gulf Coast, and even the Carolinas, this one, more so than the other one. So let me show you the spaghetti plots real quickly here. You could see the spaghetti plots today. Here's our Invest 97, which is the first one, and Invest 98. And if you're wondering where those names come from, that's what we use. We go through 90 through 99, and we recycle those throughout the season for investigation areas. This is just the way that we can start running models on them and start keeping an eye on them. So this is kind of like how we designate systems even before they get a name, just for tracking purposes, obviously, and for modeling. So the first one, you could see disturbance, Invest 97. It does have a lot more scattered spread in the guidance, and it's a little bit more kind of all over the place. Some take it into Central America and dissipate. Some into parts of South America. Even a couple take it into the Gulf of Mexico. But you can see with the second system, Invest 98, they're much more tightly clustered, and there's a little bit more agreement because it's in an area we call the main development region of the Atlantic, where you expect storms to develop this time of year and then heading towards the big islands and eventually possibly heading into Florida, the Gulf Coast, or even the East Coast. So there's still a wide range of opportunities here. And I always tell people storms that form out here have a lot of different things they can do. They can recurve at any point. They can keep going west and get into the Gulf. They could go into Florida, and then they even go into Central America. So as it gets further west, you start eliminating some of these, and the options become smaller. So the farther out they are, they're also less of a concern, but there's also a much bigger area of interest you've got to be worried about from the Gulf Coast to the East Coast. So the second one is really for the Carolinas, at least in my area, is one I'm keeping a very close eye on over the next couple of days because it's got the potential to become lower, probably quicker than this first system. So what would happen in the long range with these systems? Well, let's take a look at the intensity of 98 because the guidance on that shows a slow but steady strengthening, and a lot of the guidance brings it to a tropical storm in the next 3 to 4 days. Now, a couple of the guidance goes up to hurricane strength, the hurricane warp and the ships, which is just a statistical and climatologically based of guidance, so we don't put too much stock into that, but that's kind of typical what you would see for one of those. But the majority bring it to a tropical storm or weak hurricane over the next 5 days. Now, what's steering this thing is pretty interesting. We've got a big ridge of high pressure over the middle of the Atlantic, pretty big trough over the eastern U.S. So anything down here is actually being driven more by this ridge. And you could see, I'm going to go all the way through Thursday real quickly. You could see the ridge really building south and west. So that first system down here, you can see that it's probably going to get drawn either into here or it's going to get pulled up into the trough. So you could see where that's going. The second system, which we're watching, is being driven by this big high, and you can see this monster high driving it. Now, there's a little weakness there, but I think it's too far away to be really impacted by that. So in the long range, you see the ridge kind of building west with it, keeps it moving west all the way into the weekend. I'm going to stop this on about Friday morning. So our system is probably going to be right in here. You could see this monster ridge, but also look at the trough over the Gulf of Mexico. So whatever happens with that first disturbance, it's either going to be down here or it's going to get pulled up in here. I'm actually leaning more towards Central America just based on the European guidance. And you can see over time that ridge continues to build west. So that would tend to make this want to keep going west further, and definitely puts Florida and the Gulf Coast more at risk. And one of my favorite products that I like to show is this product here. This is the European, what we call forecast cone. So basically the ensembles, where's all the guidance taking it? And we can see the last several runs here of, at least for the 98, has shifted from here to here. So Florida, Gulf Coast, and then look at the big spread in the guidance for the first wave. So you could see moving into Central America is probably most likely. And then you could see there's actually a third wave that's going to be coming off of Africa that we'll be keeping an eye on. So you can kind of see the trend in all this really kind of highlights the fact that we've got that monster ridge of high pressure here, which is driving everything west. The real question is, how strong do these systems get, and how far west do they get and get picked up by that trough? So to me right now, the area we're watching for greatest concern is going to be Florida and the Gulf Coast for both systems. But the Carolinas are still in play because of that recurvature. There could be a weakness that develops, or the trough could shift east and put it into the Carolinas. But it's so far out, we've got plenty of time to watch this. And really, we're only in the watch and wait mode right now as both of these systems are out there. And you should have your hurricane kit ready, your hurricane plan ready to go, because probably one of these, if not the next one down the line, is eventually going to impact us over the next couple of weeks. I'll try to post updates as anything changes. If it does get a name or upgraded today, I'll post that immediately on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Have a great Tuesday, everybody, and stay tuned for updates. Please stay weather aware as we get into the heart of the hurricane season.